Hello YouTubers. Well, it seems you like me telling you stories of the past, so that's what I'm going to do today. But I'm going to read you a story relating to the past, but of course it won't really mean much unless I give you a little bit of background to it, which is that when the war first started, the air raid sirens went quite often, and in the first instance we would get out of bed and we would go down to the air raid shelter in the garden, which was an iron metal constructed thing provided by the government to keep us safe. And but nothing happened at all for about a year, so of course we sort of ignored all the air raid siren warnings until of course the bombing actually started, and then we took a different view about it, and of course we had loss of sleep and we were often very tired as a result, and eventually my father decided that he would build some bunks in the air raid shelter and that we would sleep in there, so although we might be sort of disturbed, then it wouldn't be as bad as having to get out of a warm bed into a cold, so disturbing, and that is what happened. And of course it wasn't good. The air raid shelters were very cold. They were made of steel. Condensation from the roof made everything wet, and of course the comfort of the bunk was nothing like the relative luxury of a proper bed. And it was at a time when I think I was probably about 14, and school, there was a lot of pressure on at school as the teachers sort of put more pressure on to get you to succeed in your final examination, this examination that was going to sort of take you out of poverty by enabling you to get a better job. There was 4 miles to cycle to school, often with detours around bombed streets, and it wasn't a good time with just a cold tap to wash, which you may or may not do. It was a cold time, and obviously the time came when my family thought that I was getting so tired that it wasn't a good situation, and they decided to send me to a relation in what they thought was a safer part of the country. So I had a sort of private evacuation. So that is what the story is about, and I will read it to you now. So I hope you enjoy, and goodbye. Dad eased the car to a halt. Ahead was a scene of devastation. A bomb from last night's air raid had demolished most of the shops and offices on the right-hand side of the street. Fire engines were still playing their hoses onto the flames of some of the buildings. There were flashing lights and sirens from the ambulances and police cars, which created an illusion of the lights of a fairground ride as they bounced over the rubble. Then suddenly a crashing noise from a collapsing roof sent sparks and debris into the air as it imploded into the shell of the building, adding fireworks to the illusion. The traffic lights weren't working. A policeman, whose uniform was covered in fine grey dust, patrolled the entrance to the street. Dad wound down the window as he approached. "Where are you trying to get to, sir?" "The railway station." "Well, I don't know what to tell you. I've been here all night. Looks like the incendiary fires in the next streets are out now, but I've no idea what debris there is. I think if you turn left here and check all the streets on the right, you'll find one that will lead you in the right direction." Dad thanked him and drove on as instructed. "Why don't we turn round and go home? I don't want to go." No, I know you don't, but it'll be safer at March. I don't think they will attack there. Well, they said on the wireless that the bombers find their targets by following rivers, roads, railway lines, and there's loads of railways lines leading to the marshalling yards at March. Well, Uncle Arthur lives miles from those. You'll be all right. What about school? Never mind that now. You won't be the only one who's absent. If they get in touch with us, we'll explain. You won't get into trouble. The railway station, usually bustling and noisy, was almost deserted. The cafe where Mum had treated me to doughnuts when we'd waited before the war for the train that would take us for our excursion to the coast was closed. The headlines on the placard at the newsstand announced more raids, heroism of firefighters, heavy casualties. Dad went to the window of the booking office. There was an eerie atmosphere of gloom in the cathedral-like space which did nothing to lift my spirits. Do you need to go to the toilet? No. All right, come on then. The train is already standing at the platform too. As we walked to the ticket barrier, the pigeons which were pecking around the floor suddenly flew up to the safety of their roosting place in the heavy iron supports. The crackling of their wings created a startling noise like gunfire. Dad spoke to the collector and handed him my ticket. He was told that the train would be divided at Ely and I should travel in one of the first two carriages. We walked in silence along the platform. Dad opened the heavy door of the first carriage, took my case to an empty compartment and lifted it onto the rack above the seat. Right, now here's your ticket. Keep it safe. You'll have to give it up when you leave the station at March. You should be there before blackout. Do you remember the way to get to the house? Yes, I think so. Turn right out of the station to the high street and then turn left after the bridge. I think I'll recognise the street from there. You've got the address on the envelope that Mum gave you to give to Aunt Mary. Don't be afraid to ask someone if you're not sure. Tell her we'll write and send her some money next week. Now take this 10-shilling note. In case of emergencies you can send a telegram. But writing is best. You'll be off in a few minutes, so I'd better go now. Then in the secrecy of the compartment he put his arm around my shoulder and drew me close. The tobacco smell of his jacket conjured up memories of other times we'd been alone together. Just the two of us in the car when we would sing Hilly Billy songs that he liked so much. He'd pump the accelerator in rhythm to the tune and get up more speed than was really safe, which he knew that I liked. Or the exciting occasions when he would stop at the edge of the heath and aim his shotgun through the window to shoot a rabbit. If he hit one, I'd be sent to pick it up while he restarted the engine for our getaway. I mustn't cry. We walked to the door of the carriage. Dad unhooked the thick leather strap from the brass knobs, lowered the window, stepped down to the platform and shut the door. You'll be all right, Peter. Be a good boy. I have to go now. You'll be off in a minute. Dad? What? What will happen to Bessie? Nothing's going to happen to Bessie. We'll see she's all right. She's a tough little dog. What if she's scared? She won't be scared. She's used to guns and loud noises. She is frightened, she is. Will you take her in the shelter with you at night? Yes. Well, you wouldn't let me go and fetch her last night. She's a clever little dog. She'll always find a safe place to hide. You don't understand her. She is frightened. She shivers when I hold her. The screaming noise of the dive bombers scare her to death. And she shouldn't be on her own. I was thrown off balance when the engine thumped into the carriage as it was coupled up. The guard carrying his green flag was walking along the platform, checking that the doors were closed. He waved his flag to the driver. Steam hissed from the engine. The spinning wheels shrieked as they took up the drive, and the carriage jerked when they found grip. I couldn't hear what Dad said. I leant out of the window as he turned to walk away. By the time the train had reached the bend at the end of the platform, he had passed through the barrier into the main area of the station. I saw the pigeons fly up to the roof as he walked through.